Hello there, Year 8, and today we're going to try and answer the question, how do religious believers in Worcestershire help the poor in our local area? And the key thing is to realise is that when we think about poverty and being poor, it's not just a problem for the third world. I know that we often see in the world these television programmes that always show poverty as being poor in other countries, but there are actually people who are really, really poor in our own country. Now that can be an example of what's called relative poverty, where people are poor compared to other people around them. Or it can be absolute poverty, where people have absolutely nothing, often not even the clothes on their back. And the key thing is that that happens even in the UK. And in Worcestershire, in about 30 years ago, something happened that made people realise that, and made Christian people in the town realise that they had a problem and they had to sort it out. So what actually happened was that on the streets was found a man called John Maggs, and he was found dead in the street. And because of that, the local Christian churches got together and decided, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about poverty in Worcester? So they formed an organisation called Maggs, named after the man himself. And they formed this organisation, and an old church was given to help it out. And it's gone on from strength to strength in the town, now helping lots and lots of different people who are homeless or having the opportunity to possibly be homeless. They help them in that particular area. But why? Why would a group of Christians do that? Well, as you recall from the last video, last week, what we did is we looked at why religious believers do particular things. And we learned about the golden rule, as you can remember from this picture. Now, the golden rule, as you recall, is treat other people how you would like to be treated. And often, if we do that, then the world would seemingly be a better place. But these Christians in Worcester, they actively did that. They said to themselves, okay, if I was the homeless on the street, what would I want? How could I treat people how I'd like to be treated? So they put this into practice, and they came up with Maggs. Now, Maggs do three things. Over the years, they do three things, and we're going to look at why they do that in a minute. But those three things are really, really important. They run a day centre where homeless people can go and get food and have shelter and find friends and get advice and all that kind of stuff. Right? The basics of being alive is actually helping them to live, to eat, and to have friends and things like that, and people there. They also, secondly, have what's called an activity centre, and the activity centre is specifically designed to help people to get back online, get them back into on track. So, you know, they welcome people in, and they actually help them to learn skills that could make them employable or make them able to support their own living. And finally, they do something called a clothing project. This is the third thing they do, where they actually go into the homeless community and help people with their clothing, because often it's their clothing that causes a problem. So the three things there: day centre, which is just, you know, for food and water and shelter and things like that; activity centre, helping people to get better; and finally the clothing project, giving them clothes. Now, you remember this picture here. It's the parable of the sheep and the goats. And here you can see, as we said in one of the other videos, I was hungry and you fed me, thirsty and you gave me a drink, I was sick and you took care of me, naked and you clothed me, a stranger and you welcomed me, and I was in prison and you visited me. Now, this parable all seems to show what it is that some of the things that Maggs do. For example, in the day centre they have food and some kind of sustenance, and in the parable it says, I was hungry and you fed me. Here we see at the back here, I was a stranger and you welcomed me. And that's certainly what that Maggs try to do in the activity centre. They really try to help people out by actually doing things to help them, even if they are strangers or even if they're people who they don't know. And finally, I was naked and you clothed me. And of course we can see that in the clothing project. So it's really important to realise that if we treat other people how we would like to be treated, then that actually means that we've got to do something about it. We've got to actively do something. And so that leads me to the question in this final section on the ethics. The question that I would like to ask you: should we treat other people how we would like to be treated? Is the golden rule a good thing in the year 20, whatever it is you're watching this in? Well, ladies and gentlemen, as always, what do you think?